Alright, next work in progress on Deckard. So yesterday we got the shirt painted and the blazer painted. I put the jacket on. I went ahead and glued the collar on last night just because I figured I'll do all the putty work. Head's not glued on, I just had it on there because it looks cool. So next step is we're going to go through and we're going to fill the gaps with some Aves. So I need my sculpting tool. If you don't know what Aves is, it's a two-part epoxy putty sculpting medium. Mine's a little on the old side, and I bought it a couple years ago. I should have bought smaller tubs because I don't use it a whole lot. I just use it for what we're doing here, gap filling. I gotta get one more thing, so I'll be set. Where to go? Where is it? I have some somewhere. I gotta find it. All prepared. And I'm not. One second. Is it in here? Oh, there it is. Okay. So what we're gonna do is try to do this without getting any fingerprints on the piece. I'm gonna get a towel out to put him on. Does that work? You get all this nicely. Sorry. Never prepared. So I'm just gonna put this down. Just to kind of keep him protected. Alrighty. So we need to fill in the gap here on the back, underneath here, around the arms, and around the collar. So I'm gonna mix up little small parts of this at a time. It's a two-part epoxy, so the part A, part B, and you just mix it in equal amounts. And I just kind of guesstimate. So I take a ball, like this is the part B. Or is that part B? What is that? That's part A, that's the gray. I just make a ball, and then I make a ball of the part B about the same size. When you first get this stuff, it's really soft and pliable. As it gets older, it kind of dries out. It still works, it's just not as... We got two pieces the same size. Now we're going to knead this together. And I'll put it on my bench and I'll roll it. I'll fold it and roll it. That's how I do it. Fold it, roll it. Until it's evenly mixed. And this does soften it up a little bit as you do this too. It warms up, it gets more pliable. Got some sculpting tools here, just rubber tip sculpting tools I use for doing this stuff to get it in the spots I want. Now this says to let it sit for a little, like 5 minutes afterwards. I don't let it sit. I like it right after it's mixed up. I'm just off camera here. What I'm doing is I'm folding it in my hand and rolling it, folding it and rolling it. So right now it's like 8:30 in the morning. I'll put this on, and it takes 24 hours to harden completely, but by this afternoon, you can actually paint on it right away. It's not going to affect your paint. I've done it before. But I'll let it sit up for a few hours during the day, and then I'll paint the jacket tonight. And then if we get the jacket painted, the tie painted, all that's left are his skin tones, his hands and face, and the blaster. So, all right. So there we go. So we got this kind of gray looking putty. Come a little tighter, and they have their own stuff. It's called solvent set. It's basically, or solvent, safety solvent. It's their own kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's what you use to kind of mold it and stuff and push it around. I used to use water, but this actually works much better. And water does break this down. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with the big part of my jacket. I'm gonna roll a thin piece here really thin. Like that. And we're going to put it on. And then we're going to use the tools to push it down into the seam. Actually, I'm going to put a little solvent, safety solvent on my tool. And don't worry about it, if it's messy right now, we'll clean it up. What I should have done, actually, you get to watch me fix the mistake I should have done yesterday. I didn't glue this whole seam, so I'm going to wipe this off real quick. And I'm going to glue the seam because it's wanting to move, it's wanting to flex. See, it's wanting to do this, remember, and I should have glued that down yesterday. I didn't think about it. So, I'm going to take this out. Okay. And I'm going to fill that in a little bit with some thick CA. Now the trick is, let's see. Okay. So this is one of those spots where it's going to get messy before it gets pretty again. I'm going to throw some kicker. It'll keep the jacket from flexing. I'm also going to put a little bead in here. To do a little bit of sanding. Once this is done, shouldn't be too much. Checking the back side and make sure I don't have anything coming through. So the jacket has a seam sculpted in it, but there's a gap, so that's what we're filling it in. So there's actually a seam there, but we just want to fill the gap. Okay. Just use that to dry the excess setter. I'm going to give this a light sanding too. I'm not going to do all this on camera. I'll do this one seam and then you'll get the idea. Because this will take a while. Now there's a mold, there's a detail molded in right here. Some stitching. So I'm going to avoid that. Okay, so we got that kind of filled in a little bit. Use my fingers a lot too, because your fingertips have a lot of, they can really sense if something's smooth. Never judge it by your eyes. Always put your hands on something and feel it. I'm putting this safety solve on my hand because it keeps it from sticking to my hand and I can work it better. Another good tool are Q-tips with safety solve on them. I probably should have wrapped up all the painted areas first. So maybe once I get done with this seam, I'll wrap them and get them wrapped in saran wrap. That way I don't actually get paint on them. Get any of the stuff on them, on the painted areas. Because that would suck. Again, so we're just kind of working this in. A little piece at a time. Got my safety, right here. Got that safety solve in a little cup. Using the Q-tip to kind of push it down into the seam or the gap. And then, let's see, this tool right here is good for, try to take as much of the excess off as you can. It'll save you a lot of sanding later on. Just got a paper towel here to kind of wipe over it. So on this part, I really actually don't mind if I see a little bit of a seam because it's supposed to be there. I just want to see a gap. Like I don't want to be able to see through the jacket. Back seems looking pretty good. Here. So this is the time-consuming part. The more time you spend on this, the less time you got with sanding and smoothing it out later. It's looking pretty good. Hey Owen, you done with those? Are you done with those? I'm homeschooling at the same time I'm doing this stuff. Back and forth. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's work on this gap up here, and then I'll do the rest off camera. This gap's actually bigger than the one that was in the jack in the lower part. I've got something on the towel here. I've got some, just turning this over, make sure I don't have anything on the painted part, and I got a little bit on it, so I'm going to flip that over. This is hard to do because I'm trying to do this on camera. I really need to get this up close to my face, so I'm just going to do a little bit of this on camera because right now I can't see what I'm doing because of the angle. I'm just using these tools to fill this in, push that down into the gap. So it's messy right now. We'll clean it up here in a second. And this will also just solidify the whole, the jacket and everything as this hardens. It'll Actually can help bond everything together. That's pretty good. I'm going to come back in here with the same tool with the Solvus safety. I want to keep saying Solvus. Solvus is what I use for decals. This is safety solve. It's different. I'm actually using a Q-tip. It gives you a nice. The Q-tips are perfect because it gives you a nice soft transition. It doesn't leave any tool marks or anything. A little bit. There. Constantly pushing it into the gap. Make sure it's nice and packed full of this. The A's. So this is the whole process right here. Fill smooth, fill smooth, fill smooth. It's looking pretty good. Let's see. Toothpicks are good too to get down in the little crevices. Like underneath the arm here. And then I also use these pointy hobby Q-tips to get little corners for smoothing. So that's it. That's the process of filling gaps. So once this dries pretty good, like I said, it takes 24 hours for the A's to fully cure, but it'll be pretty hard. In about 3 to 4 hours. How long are we going? 24 minutes. I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's the same process over and over again. Let's go ahead and do this arm while we're here. At least this top part. So just to do this part will take me a couple hours. So I'm using this rounded part of this tool luckily this is an organic shape, so it's easier than filling a geometrical shape. It can be it's a little more forgiving. Alright, so that's kind of the idea. I think you pretty much get it. That's the process. And just gotta go around and do all the areas. So I'll spend a couple hours doing this, and then when I come back, hopefully this will have dried pretty good and we can see if we need to work on anything, smooth any more out. I got dirty Q-tips. Let me just get a bunch of clean ones. Those things are looking pretty good. Alrighty, so I'm going to stop this part of the video here, and then next time I come back, the gaps will be filled. Okay, so I've got all the putty in. I think this is going to look pretty good, but I won't know until I get a coat of primer on it. So from when I did the video initially, I went and took a break to do some homeschooling, and I came back about 2 hours later to continue the putty work. And the stuff that I put on initially was already pretty hard. It wasn't 100% cured, but it cures pretty quick. You got about, I don't know, it gives you like a scale of workable time. I'd say for the way I like to work with it, because I'm not sculpting with it, I'm filling gaps, I've got about 30 to 40 minutes before it gets too hard to do what I want to do. But I went in and I covered them up with some saran wrap, silly putty on the top, and I went in, did the back side of the, you actually don't see that back there, but I did it anyway, around the collar, around the arms, and underneath the arms as best I could. Again, a lot of those, some of these areas you don't see, but try to do it anyway. So yeah, so until this dries, I may have to do a little sanding here and there, but hopefully not a whole lot. The hardest one is really this big seam right here in the back of the jacket. That's the only one I'm really worried about seeing anything. And then for on top of the shoulders, I kind of had to, because there's 3 joints here. So you got the front and the back, and then the arm. So I just kind of put a mound of Aves on top and just kind of smoothed it out as best I could. But they don't line up exactly, and I don't want to sand away the material, so I just kind of built up the Aves here and around that joint. And I'm going to do a little bit of sanding here, but I think for the most part it should be pretty good. Again, it's an organic shape, so it's not quite as mission critical to get it absolutely perfect. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on the skin tones. So I did a little work in progress on the flash I just finished on skin tones, and they're some of the best I've ever done. They look really, really good. So I'm going to start off kind of doing the same thing. It's going to be a base coat of flesh, and then I'm going to go in with pastels to do all the shading, and then the final blending with some colors on top. So again, going back to David's paint up here, as they're kind of a guide as far as the final look goes. I'm not going to be able to do the same techniques he did because I don't have the same colors and tools, but I'm just going to use it kind of as a reference as to what this should look like in the end. So we're going to do this WIP. We're not going to do any blood or anything. So we start out with a pretty light tone. So I'm going to take this, this is just a Steinway Res primer right now. I'm going to hit it with a very light, warm gray to start with. Sorry about the dog in the background. She's crazy. My dogs are nuts. Maybe like a number 3. So we start with a slightly lighter base. Right, had to go turn on my air compressor. Get this going. So let's see, this may be a little too light. We'll see what it looks like. Just gonna do just a light coat. It's okay if I see some of the gray primer underneath. Just like that. Same thing on the hands. I'm going to try the noodling like David did. I've done that on Hulks, but I've never done it on Caucasian. Okay, that's about it. Just to brighten it up just a little bit. So that was GarageKiss.us warm gray number 3. Just to brighten it up just a hair. Let's see what did he do. Sorry, so I'm going to, I think I'm going to take some of this folk art acrylic. This is a kind of a pretty light color. I'm going to mix some of this up and noodle this on his face. Water. Mix with water because I use lacquer thinner. It will turn into a gummy mess. So I'm going to mix this pretty light. And when I noodle, I typically draw like little figure 8s all over the surface. I'm not even clean out my brush. I'm going to just go from so. Just checking the consistency. Let's see. Is there a way to turn on? Let's see, just right there. So we're gonna do this and show you what I'm doing. Some random squiggles. Pretty close. I've never done this on Caucasian skin. Only done it on Hulk. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slightly darker color. I think it's kind of more pink. That first color, if you're interested in what it's called, it's Melrose. The second color I'm going to use is called Warm Bisque. This one's called Bisque. So I got Bisque and Warm Bisque. I'm going to run some water through my airbrush to clean it out a little bit. I'm going to mix this up just in the airbrush because I don't need very little. So I got some of this Warm Bisque in here. Just with some water. Test it out on my hand first. It's a little too thin. Sorry, I'm trying to get this mixed to the right consistency. A little water, it's okay. Just help blend it all in. Okay. What that looks like. I'm going to warm up a little bit more with some of my garage kits at US light African flesh. Then that should be the base coat for all the pastel work. So I like this light African flesh. I'm going to add a little thinner to it. Thin it out. Test on my hand, and then we're going to do the same thing. I'm good for now. Thank you. I'm in the middle of recording. All right, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'm having a hard time getting that paint come out. Get it down a little bit more. My airbrush is clogged again. I just cleaned these fuckers. Part of the problem is that, again, when I'm trying to record, I can't get the light where I need and get in camera and all that stuff. It's a little annoying. So I'm going to do this off camera because I can't do it in front of. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so this is what it kind of looks like right there. So I think we're gonna go in and start doing some shading on right on top of this. You can just kind of see the primer a little bit through, and it's a little model looking. On the hands, I just did a real light coat of the light African flesh, just real light. I didn't do any noodling on top. So I'm gonna go seal these real quick, and then we can start doing some pastel work and go from there. Okay, so I went and sealed that. Now we're gonna start working on the pastel work. Sorry, my camera's a little crooked, but just deal with it. All right, so what I got going on here is I got my pan pastels. I've got a bunch of colors here. I've got, this is burnt sienna tint, red what is this? Red oxide, burnt sienna. This is raw umber, got raw umber tint, and some Payne's gray. So if you watch my flash video, I've got a specific set of brushes I use only for skin tone pastels. So I don't want to get all the other weathering colors on my skin. So I'm going to follow, again, Dave Fisher's guidance. He did it with an airbrush, I'm going to do it with pastels. So I usually don't use red oxide, but we're going to put some of that in there. So basically he just did it around the hairline, basically all the shadows. So get a little bit on your brush. And we're going to go around the hairline first. And then remember, I use a big softy brush here to kind of blend it in. Take that off the stick so I can control it better. And this will all get lightened up when I go in and do my kind of final blending. Start at the top. I use the soft brush to blend it. And start to bring out all the details. We're going to read what he did. I like having a little instruction guide, it's very nice. And also the pictures to go with it. It's very helpful. So it's a softer shape. I don't put as much on. I kind of like that noodling effect to give a nice kind of random skin look to everything. like this. You can see there I didn't go back and well, I need to because I don't have much on there. Hitting all low spots. It's a little more punchy on my camera than it is in person. You can see how there I push up into the shadow with the big brush. It's looking pretty good right there. I think I may go seal this. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to seal this, and then I'm going to come back and go in the shadows with the burnt sienna. So let me seal this and come back. Alright, so I sealed that with some flat, hit it with the hairdryer, and I'm going to come up with some of this burnt sienna and hit some of the other shadows. I like my little chisel brushes, those seem to be my favorite. Keep the redder tones towards the face because he's stressed out. And I'm just going to keep the same brush, big brush, and use that to blend. That so I can work better. Come in here and hit some of these little wrinkles and stuff. Hey, Alina, can you turn that down a little bit, please? Thank you. Sounds like a gangster rap concert in my kitchen. Okay. Come up here, hit underneath the eyes. It's gonna look real weird until I come in and mist down some other skin tones to kind of get this, tie this all together. Q-tip here. Starting to look like Harrison Ford. Okay. Let's see what else we got. We got these little wrinkles here. I should kind of draw them in a little bit. Just using the tip of this chisel brush to get in there. And blow off the excess. I'm not going to go in and use the big brush on that because I don't want to get any pastel darker tones on the high points. But hopefully that shows that that came out. I'm not sure if that was in focus. Let me turn on autofocus. And come in and blend this in a little bit. Hit the back of the neck a little bit. You're not going to see it, but get behind the ears. I always forget behind the ears. Get down in the ear. And these little creases in the ear. Get that little pointy brush. It's actually looking really, really good. It's looking a little bruised and beaten, but that's all right. We're gonna even it all out. Clean this brush off a little bit and I like to intensify these wrinkles in his forehead a little bit because it's a very Harrison Ford characteristic. And his little scar beneath his chin. And come back in with a little red oxide in the corner of the mouth. And come back with the chisel brush and blend it. Just softens it up. Just like that. I'm digging the red oxide. It's really punchy right now, but I see the intent of it. So, what's interesting in this sculpt is that this side of the cheek, his left cheek, our right, it's really well defined. This side's a little puffier. There's not like a, usually there's a liner there. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit and add one. It's just not as well defined. So we can just cheat and kind of add one. See this little feature right here, this line really wasn't there. You notice I dab a lot. I guess the pastel will really stick right where I want it, and then I go back and soften it, blend it with a softer brush. Sorry about that. My phone started ringing. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that when it starts to ring. Okay, so this looks pretty good. We're gonna go seal this, and then we're gonna come in and add the highlights, and then we'll come back and then mist over some semi-transparent skin tones to tie it all together. Okay, that was a big mess. We're gonna come in and we're gonna come in with this raw sienna tint and hit the highlights. So when I seal this, I put on 2 very light coats of that flat, and then hit it with a hair dryer. So it's pretty quick. So what I do is I get some on my brush, take most of it off, and then hit the highlight. Well, maybe I need to put more on there. And hit all the high spots. You can see that pastel is broken, unfortunately, but it's no big deal. So kind of drawing the shapes. We're going to get this little small brush, we're going to clean it off for the most part, and then we'll use it to blend. Got some right there I don't want. Get out of there. So when I do the hands, I'll repeat mostly the same steps. I like that noodling on this. It's very subtle, but I can still kind of see down to the gray primer a little bit. It gives a lot of really nice depth. I like that. I'll have to do that from now on. Remember, we kind of do a dry brush on the tops of the ears here. Still dry brush using pastels. Again, it's still going to look real punchy until we start layering in misting on those other skin tones to tie this all together. Right now we're just establishing all the shapes. Get the eyelids a little bit, catch some light. We're getting pretty close here to ready to blend this all in. Be another long video. It's like a specular highlight like that. Just put a dot and then soften it, just like that. Follow the shape of the side of the nose there. Works out really well. See, this I'm able to put my camera right in front of my face and still work on this at the same time, so you can show you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing in this instance. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. A little punchy right now, but we're gonna tie it all together. Alright, so I'm going to go seal this, and then we'll get some of the semi-transparent skin tones on here and kind of tie it all together. And then I may do some additional pastel work, like we'll give him a 5 o'clock shadow. And we'll do the lips and stuff like that. So went back to this red oxide a little bit to pump this up, and I'm going to come in here, I'm going to pump this up just a little bit more too. So I'm going to go to mist on my color. I want those to be pretty drastic shadows. So if you don't know, the smaller the scale, the more contrast you have to add to it. It's almost counterintuitive, but the smaller you go with something, you have to add more contrast to it, so your eye kind of interprets what it's supposed to look like full size. So if you never, if you see a miniature painter, they have a lot of contrast in their pieces. The guys that have been doing it for a long time. I'm going to add a little highlight to this part of the neck. Not sure if you can see it, but we're going to do it. Okay. Alright, so we're going to seal this. I keep saying that, and I keep seeing little things. I'm going to adjust. And then we'll blend it all in. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Alright, so I got that sealed. I've got my airbrush right now, some GarageKits.us Garage Kit Flesh. I've thinned it about 50-50, and we're going to back off and we're going to kind of start blending this together. It's real light. So my airbrush is off camera here. I'm probably, again, 18 inches away, a foot or so. Okay, I'm going to come in with a light African flesh just going to add it right to this cup. This bottle is all jacked up. Just spraying out everywhere but the tip. Just added right to that same. Okay, same thing. Okay, look at this. Probably getting blown out in camera. That's looking pretty good. I think I may darken it just a little bit. It's a little bright overall, I think. Trying to get the paint to come out of the bottle, and it's not wanting to. So I'm going to perform surgery on this thing. There we go. Man. And of course my airbrush never wants to cooperate, even though I've just cleaned these damn things. Come on, you piece of shit. I may have to switch airbrushes. As much as I love these chromes, I have way more problems with the chromes than I do with the Iwatas clogging. I'm gonna get another airbrush. 1 second. Okay, it's time to hell time I airbrush spraying again. So I went and missed out on some more of the light African flesh. Now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back in and redo some of my pastel work. So I kind of lost some of it. So I'm just gonna go in with the burnt sienna and redo some of the shadows, just because I kind of lost some of them. Not too much. Basically, where the red oxide is, I can see really good. Just gonna kind of. I'm gonna transition some of those red oxide shadows with the burnt sienna. I think it's a little too bright overall. Sometimes you gotta go back and hit the shadows again, redo some of your pastel work after you've blended it in. I think I may have blended it a little too much and maybe didn't really use the right colors. Just using this burnt sienna to kind of blend it all in. Seems to be getting the effect I want. I moved my camera, sorry. Now we're getting there. This is kind of where I wanted to be. I think the red oxide should throw me off a little bit because I typically don't use it. I do like the effect, I just think I had it too stark. Too much. Now we're getting somewhere. Now what I think we're going to do, super light. I'm going to take some of this burnt sienna, take most of it off my brush. I'm going to do this over the whole face just to kind of warm it up a little bit. That's about right where it should be, I think. Just kind of going over some of these areas with the red oxide to turn down the redness. Just kind of doing an overall burnt sienna treatment. This seems to be getting the effect I want. That's more of what I was looking for. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So I just kind of I sealed it after I did my airbrushing, and I didn't like it, so I went back in with just the burnt sienna, re-hit the shadows, and just very softly with just the soft brush, put some on my brush like this, took most of it off, and hit the whole face, and that just kind of seemed to warm it all up just right and blend it all together. I wasn't liking the look I had going on. Okay, we're gonna seal that, and then we'll look at maybe doing the 5 o'clock shadow. Looks like he's got some stubble here. Again, just kind of going and intensifying some of these deep recesses. I didn't do the nostril, I always forget that too. Alright, let's seal that and we'll do the next step. So my lights are really bright, so that's actually pretty close to my skin tone, kind of yellowish. That's looking really good. Happy with that. Alright, next I'm going to do a 5 o'clock shadow, and I'm not the best at these, but so we'll see what we come up with. So I was going to use Payne's Gray originally, but it's got a lot of blue in it. So I'm going to use the same color I did with the Flash, and it's actually a color from MIG called Metal Slag. It's like a really warm gray. So, something just fell. What was that? Not sure what that was. So I'm going to take most of this off my brush, and we're going to go in here and we're going to lightly add this, dabbing real light. Really want to slowly build this up. You don't want to put this on too thick because you want to see the skin through it. You can vary the darkness of it depending on where on the face it is. So like I do a little bit lighter along the cheeks, tend to do darker on the chin. And I think yeah, I mean this is a good reference. He even did a little bit on the neck, which I like. It's real subtle on the neck, not too much. And then we got a little bit on the upper lip. Yeah, we're starting to look like Harrison Ford. There's some really nice stubble sculpted into this. So I kind of drag my brush across it. I should be able to kind of get it, again, kind of like a dry brushing technique. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay, it's there. It's not too crazy dark. Hit the chin a little bit more. Alright, 5 o'clock shadow. Looks pretty good. We'll seal that, and then we'll maybe do the lips. Alrighty, lips. So, just like we did on the flash, we're going to use oils. Get myself a little turpentine, a little Dixie cup. I'm going to put some, not turpentine, mineral spirits in. Give this guy some pinkish brown lips. A little mineral spirits. Let me get a brush. Let's see what I got over here. What I got for brushes? That's usable right now. Let's see, can I use this one? That's not very good. Here's one. I like to use a soft bristle brush. Alright, we're going to get a bunch of colors out again. We're going to get some of this red. This is more like an orange. I'm going to get some of this kind of magenta. And we're going to get some brown. It's kind of like a raw sienna. There. And this. And a little bit of white. And we'll mix up a lip color here. Alright. Don't ask me what the color these names are. I don't know. So we're gonna get some mineral spirits here and start mixing up a color. Now, again, kind of going back to David Fisher's paint up. So overall, my skin's a little redder than his, a little punchier, a little more contrasty, which is, I think it's okay. So we're gonna get kind of this raw sienna and this brown going, a little bit of this pink. Maybe a little bit of this. Okay. Get some Q-tips. Can never have enough Q-tips. And we're gonna go in here. We're basically gonna start staining the teeth. It's gonna be really drastic at first. Give them chocolate lips. white in there. That's what I'm missing is white. It's kind of purple right now. Let's get some of this going on over here. And just put it on and kind of dab it. A lot of back and forth with lips. Just gonna get some of this dark brown ready to kind of establish a shadow inside. I take off some of the paint on my hand and just use the very lightly dampened brush. Starting to get there. A little pink. Take most of it off and go back and just stipple it to blend it. The mineral spirits will not reactivate your flat coat. Sorry, I'm not talking, I'm just working. Putting the shadow back in, I kind of took it out by accident. I actually need a smaller brush. That brush worked great for the flash. It was nice and big. It's not working so well for this guy. Let's see. Oh, it's got purple lips. You don't want purple lips. Just going back and forth between my different tones here, stippling it in to blend. That's my timer going off, telling me it's time to get back to homeschooling with the kiddos. Alexa, stop timer. So I gotta take a break here. The good thing about oils is I can come back and visit this. Alexa, stop timer. Sorry. And I can reactivate the oils with the mineral spirits. So you can work these until you seal them. I'm getting there. Oops, came up on the top side too much. Yeah, just took off all those. I was using Q-tip to clean the top of the lip and I took a bunch of the tones off, unfortunately. I was dragging it over here from this side. Oh, my battery's almost dead. Let me see. Sorry. Alright, well, I think you get the idea. So I'm going to finish the lips, and we'll come back and work on that. So this is where we are right now. I think that's looking pretty sharp. I like the lips. I went back in with a little kind of pink tone, blended it into the kind of shadow area. I base coated the eyes. I used some of this, just the semi-transparent warm grain number 2. I did 2 coats of that, so it's not 100% opaque. So you can kind of see a little bit of the pink, of that pink skin tone coming through, just peeking through a little bit, which is kind of nice. So I'm gonna do my little cheating of using decals for eyes. Like I tell people, I suck at painting eyes, so I cheat. So I just look at them as another tool. I will learn how to paint eyes one day correctly. So I use Archer decals, and they come in different styles. So it looks like, from what David Fisher, it looks like he's got green eyes, kind of greenish, yeah. And now I have the body all masked up over here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take off the silly putty, because I'm going to put the head on to kind of get direction for which way to point the eyes. I think kind of, I'm going to, again, I'm just using David Fisher's guide because it's really good. He had him kind of pointing down and to his left a little bit. Got some silly putty in there. So my Aves is still drying. It's been a couple hours since I did it, so I gotta let it keep drying, doing its thing. I'm just picking out some silly putty real quick. Sorry. Got distracted. Okay. So I like to put the head on. Usually I do the hair first, but so we kind of get a sense of what he's looking like. Okay, so we're gonna have the kind of eyes coming down to the left just a little bit. Let's put him this side again. He's warm because it's been sitting in front of my window. So when you buy Archer decals, they come in a bunch of different sizes. The biggest are what they consider quarter scale, and we got the next size, which they consider 6th scale. So I'm going to use these right here. I like these eyes. So Let me get in here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So got his head. I'm actually gonna get a little ball of blue tack because that way I can put the head on it to hold it still while I work. Kind of like this. Okay. I need a little bit of water, so I need to get a clean cup. A little water in. Make sure it's water, not thinner. So I get a little water in this cup. So when I cut the eyes out, what I do is, now I'm going to look at this again because even though you can almost get away with, okay, sorry, a little brain fart. Sometimes they're a little small in my opinion, so what I'll probably do is put these in and then outline them in black to make them a little bit bigger. I did that on my Hulk because the biggest eyes are way too big. So got them here. And I trim them as close as I can to the decal. Using a new blade. It's been a long time since I've done the 6 scale figure. Okay. So what I do is I leave a little bit of a corner so I can grab the decal with my blade. So it's right here. Okay. So then what I do is I gotta decide which way I want this highlight because they've got a little kind of highlight and a dark, bright spot on the eye. So you gotta do what kind of makes sense. So what I typically do is I usually put the darker area of the eye towards the top and the shadow area. So I'm going to grab, I put the decal in before I do any lining and stuff because then I so I'm just going to dip it in the water here. And then these loosen up pretty quick. And then I take a toothpick and I actually bite off the tip. So I've got basically like a soft wooden brush, if that makes sense. And then I wet the eye. That. And then get it right on the cheek. Like this. And then slides are out the paper. Now these are super thin. I actually may turn it. Kind of look this way a little bit. So I did seal this again before I started to put the eyes in. So you can see he's kind of looking to his left just a little bit. Look down. I don't know if I wanted to look down or just. So this first side will determine which way it's looking. So I'm just kind of playing with it right now. Maybe I'll look up a little bit. Keep dipping my Q-tip in water. Get that away. There we go. I think we're going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this eye around. To get this one kind of where I want, then now these are pretty delicate, so after a while you gotta stop messing with it. Sometimes I'll go through a couple sets of eyes because I've messed them up. I just got a little brush with some water on it. So the way these decals are made, they're made with inkjet on a decal paper. So after a while, if you mess with them too much, you'll mess up the ink of the decal. So like this, I started to mess up the pupil, so I'll just hit that with a little speck of black paint. Okay, so that's pretty much where I want that eye. So he's looking to the left and up just a hair. So I get a clean Q-tip. And just lightly push it down. Now it's still loose, this will still come off pretty easily. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to use some my decal setter solution, just microsol right here. And I flood the eye with this setting solution, and this will get the eye to conform and melt into place. And the trick with this stuff, you just gotta let it do its thing. Don't mess with it. Sometimes I'll do this twice. Kind of do this backwards. Usually I'll do the hair first and then the eyes. Oops, I just moved it. Okay. Now, while that's sitting, I can work on the other one. Just cutting it out. And then what I do is after this solution has dried, I go into the brand new blade, because there's some eye decal film up here on the underside of the eyelid. Very lightly cut it and then use a Q-tip to get rid of the excess. The way they tell you to do these is to cut the eye to the shape you want, but I find that hard because if you don't know exactly how you want the eye to go in there, you don't know what shape to cut it. So I don't do that. I'm just right below the camera here messing with this thing. So I leave a little solution or a little of the decal film on the side of the eye so I can stab it and pick it up. Or not stab the actual decal. Let's put some water in there. Basically eye surgery. Okay. Sometimes it's easier if you leave a little extra of the film on because it wants to kind of fold in on itself because you're fighting it. Put some more water on there. A little cross-eyed right now. We're getting closer. Yeah. Picked it up by accident. So I think you get the idea. I need to get this close to my face. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in place and set, and then we'll come back. Okay, so those look pretty good. From what I can tell, they look like they're in the right position. So we're going to just make sure these are got some good amount of setting solution on them. This one may be up a little hair. Once you put the setting solution on, it gets really soft. So that's usually when I really mess them up. And I may miss this one up right here. I'm trying to come down a little bit. I think it's okay. And also sometimes it's really hard because sometimes his eyes are sculpted slightly different. This one looks like it's closed just a little bit more than this one. Like his brow is up just a hair on this side. So sometimes that's really hard to kind of, for me, to get these in the right spot. But I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to let this dry. And then, actually I don't think I need to trim the decal at all. I don't see any extra film. So once it's dry, I'll hit it with a gloss coat. Or I'll seal it, and then I'll go and I'll start doing like the water line and the getting the eyelids painted. Okay, so while the eyes were kind of drying, I went ahead and did a base coat of brown on the hair. This isn't the final color. I just want to kind of get blocked in because it really kind of shows you what your skin tones are doing. And I really like this. This is punchier than I normally would do, but I really like this look on them. So we're gonna let this all dry. We're gonna give it a good coat of sealer, and then we'll work on doing eyelids and water lines and stuff like that, and then finishing up the hair. So we'll have the portrait done today and the skin, which will be great. So stay tuned for the next step. Okay, so I went and finished the eyes except for the gloss coat because I just had to get in with the optimizer and get super close. So I'm not sure you can see that, but I went and put a water line in, a tear duct, top and bottom. So I'm going to seal this one more time with flat coat. Then I'm going to finish the hair, and the very last step on this will be to gloss the eyes. So I have to look at the hair a little bit. It's kind of a blondish brown, dirty brown. So I'll probably take this base coat and do some light kind of, I don't know, light brownish brushing to it. And then it's kind of weird because I'm looking at the reference. It's actually it's got a light, his hair's got light roots and gets darker at the top. So it's kind of reverse. It's kind of the dark, there's really not highlights. It's kind of dark on top rather than highlights on top. So let me go flat coat this, and then we'll finish the hair. Okay, so I want to seal that. So I'm going to start kind of I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to this hair. I'm going to do that. And then where's the brush I used? A little flat brush. All my brushes are a complete wreck right now. Just going to add a little yellow to the little water. Kind of this tone. Get a towel. So I'm actually kind of going to take this I want to kind of just shift the color that I have on here. We don't want to cover it up. I'm just kind of rubbing this on top of this first brown I mixed up. A little more yellow to it. Pretty happy with how this is looking so far. Your hair's darker this, but like I said, it's got roots, light roots. It's okay if I see some of that other color through this. I'll just give it some variation. That's why I'm kind of scrubby at it on there. I'll do this and I'll seal it again. I'm taking a lot of the paint off my brush because I don't want to cover up that first color. I just want to, like I said, it's got too much there. Man, this may be the best portrait I've done so far. It looks really fucking good. Man, I dig it. It looks really, really red on the back. When I'm looking on my phone, he looks super red, but in person, this looks, I think, unreal. This looks so fucking good, man. Okay. So that's kind of where I want to start. I'm going to do the same thing to the eyebrows. Just kind of go over the top, then I'll go in and draw little black hairs. Okay. You can see I've got a few little wisps of hair coming off onto the forehead. Do some more in this color. Got a little more of this blonde to the backside. Oops, too much water. Created bubbles. We don't want bubbles. I don't know why my camera adds so much red to everything. It's crazy. I'm not sure if that's what it actually looks like. I have to go back and watch like the video I do, but while I'm recording stuff, it looks so red. When I send photos, it looks so red. Like right now, it looks so punchy. Not even close to what I'm seeing in person. Let's look on the back of it. All right. Pretty happy with that. I'm going to seal this and we're going to come back and we're actually going to put some dark spots on. We're going to dry brush dark and then see what that looks like. Alright, now we're going to mix up a dark kind of burnt sienna raw umber color. So let me get some of that out. Some burnt sienna. I don't want red. Actually, I'm not going to do burnt sienna. I'm going to do burnt umber. Actually, I can probably just use burnt umber by itself. A little burnt umber. I should give you the color I want. I don't want to add red to it. It's a little brown. And we're going to get a little chiseled brush here. A little stiff brush. And dry brushing as usual. We're going to load the brush up. Take most of it off. Oops. We're going to come in here and see what this looks like. Probably go darker. Yeah, I'm got a little black to that. There we go. We're gonna see what this looks like. Oops. A big old bunch on his forehead. Don't want that. Never done this, dry brushed a dark color on top of a light color for hair, but it makes sense if you got light roots. I actually think I just need black. I'll go back over this with black in a second. Because now I'm just kind of getting back to the base color I had. Let's just do a little bit of black. We're kind of getting there. I'm going to do some this way too. I like these chisel brushes because you can get into all sorts of different nooks and crannies with them really easily. Sorry, I'm off camera. It's actually looking pretty good. Trying to get a little tonal variation here and there. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna just draw some little kind of black hairs on top of the eyelashes. Need a really small brush for that. I had a good one going, or was it? This guy. So I can do this while recording. Maybe not. I had to get my optimizer on. It's gonna be another little long work in progress, a couple hours at least. Doing the portrait and get the finishing this guy up. I have to go back in there with my kind of blondish color. Which is this one right here. Eyebrows are tough for me. Trying to give a resemblance of some eyelashes in there. We'll see. Again, all my brushes are shitty and I'm really hard on them, so I don't have any that really ticket point and keep it. It's looking pretty good. We're just going to kind of fudge the eyelashes and kind of give you the sense of an eyelash, like hairs and stuff, because from a viewing point it looks pretty good. Alrighty, so I think pretty happy with the hair. Ah, damn it. Sorry, I got a big old glob of black paint that I didn't want. So I'm going to finish this up, seal it, and we'll gloss the eyes. Okay, portrait is done. So, as I said before in my other videos, I sealed it with the Krylon flat, but I put it on kind of medium wet so I get a nice satin finish. Just gloss the eyes and it is done, and it looks unreal in person. He looks orange and red in my phone, so I'm not sure how this is coming across, but this may be my best portrait ever. Super realistic. Totally love this. So hopefully, Rob, you like this, man, because I'm so totally thrilled. I'm going to continue this work in progress. We'll just call this the last work in progress because I got to paint the jacket and the tie, and then he's done. So hopefully in a couple hours I can get the jacket wrapped up, because then the apes will have dried for about 12 hours. So I can get that wrapped up tonight, and we'll see. But it looks really good. We'll get this thing wrapped up shortly. Alrighty, so I've done a few things before since the last time I was recording. I went ahead and got the jacket sprayed and just did it in the spray booth. And it looks pretty good. Real happy with this. So kind of did I started out actually with a more of a green color, and then I went in and did some shading with I added some like red brown to that, and then I went in with some dark brown, and then I just kind of misted, sprayed transparent black over everything here and there, and so we got this really nice kind of looking trench coat. Really nice. I had some paint peel on the lapels, unfortunately, so I had to go touch that up, which sucked, but it wasn't too bad after all. And his face looks fucking awesome. I love it. Oh my gosh. I think he looks, I just love this piece. I'm so in love with this. I got the hands painted, installed that one, did the fingernails. So what else do I got to do? I'm going to see if there's another tie in the movie, because I started to paint the tie and I'm like, oh no, screw this. I'm not going to paint all those little checkered squares on him. So I think he's got a solid tie on somewhere in the movie. So now I'm working on the blaster, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm painting some like wood grain for the grip. So I don't know if you can see that. Focus. And I figured while my camera's adding a lot of X, I got blue gloves on, so it's trying to compensate. Let me take that off so you'll help with that. Focus. So what I did is I took some, I just kind of mixed up a kind of a warm wood color with some burnt sienna and stuff, and I just kind of dragged my brush over just the flesh tone that was there, and I created like this wood grain. It looks really nice. So what I'm going to do to make it really deep, I'm going to go with some transparent colors. So like a transparent something. Where is it? Transparent burnt sienna will do it. Add some red to it. So let's do that. So I kind of got this wood grain thing going on. It's just focusing. Autofocus. Right there. And I'm just going to get some burnt sienna and a brush. And we're just going to put this on. And this will add a lot of depth to it. And it got some kind of initial shading going in there. Let's see, did I lose my wood grain? Kind of did. I didn't seal it before I did this, so I'm going to go back and do it again. Excuse me. Actually, I just kind of let this dry. I can add it. So the wood grain, just John already, you just take your brush and kind of drag it through the wet paint. Right there, and I just brought it back. So now I got wood grain again. This actually looks better than it did the first time. Alright. So then it looks like we got a wood grain handle. So let's hit that with a hair dryer. And I'll gloss the grip at the end. It looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go seal this real quick. All right. So the only other part on this I've got to paint is the butt of the gun, and that's like a chrome color. Let's see what I got that I can do. I think the Vallejo silver will do a good job. So this is their liquid metals line of paints, which I really like. Yeah, it's a nice bright color. Not chrome looking, but it's got a nice bright silver. So their liquid metal is actually a solvent-based paint. It's not an acrylic, like most of the Vallejo colors. What I like about them is how well they cover. I'm really sad to see this guy go because it's going to Japan, to Rob Newberry, who lives there. And this is one I would love to take to Wonderfest. I think he would do well. I would love to show this off. This is my best. This is either I'm getting better, or I just think or I think a lot of myself. This may be one of my best paint ups. As far the portrait definitely is one of my best portraits. I thought I was real happy with the flashes I did, but this is even better than those, I think. This is the one that's hard to paint and try to videotape because I really need this up close to my face. So there you go. So I'm going to seal this with flat one more time, and then I'll gloss coat the grip, and then this part is done. That looks good. So put that to the side for now. For the gun. So the gun is mostly black. Where is it? Right here. So I just spray some gloss black on this, and then basically detail with some metal colors. I'm going to go do that. So I went to look up some photos, close-ups of the original hero prop of Deckard's blaster, and this isn't a wood handle. It's actually like an amber plastic handle. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking some of this transparent vivid orange from GarageKits.us, and I'm just layering this on over and over again until I get the color I want. So I don't have to repaint it. I'm just adding a bunch of orange to this, and I'll get the effect I want, and then I'll get gloss coated. For the rest of the blaster, I'm just going to do that off camera because I have to get in real tight. There's a lot of details in there, so I can't do it on camera, but basically I went gloss coated it. I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. And I'm gonna go and paint all the metal details and then seal it. And then the blaster should be done. And then all that's left on him is the tie. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do for that, because I really don't want to paint all those damn squares. So when I come back, he should be done. Alrighty, all I got left is a tie, and unfortunately all he wears on the movie is that damn checkered tie. So I'm going to call it a night, because that is going to take a long time. I actually got it kind of base coated, but I think the colors are a little too bright. But I think what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to draw in the grid pattern, and then we'll give it some washes to knock down, because it's too bright. It looks like a Christmas tie, but it's red and green. I'm going to draw in the black lines, give it a wash, and then some squares are a little bit brighter than others, so I'll just go in there and add some highlights and stuff. So that's going to take a while, but he's looking really good. So I think I'll just call this work in progress done, and then because he looks really good. Got the blaster painted and glued on. Looking nice and weathered there. I'm not going to glue this. That's going to be the very last thing I glue on, because it's super fragile. But I couldn't be happier with this. I think it looks pretty badass myself. Super happy with happy with the portrait. So that's it for this work in progress. It's probably, I don't know how long, it's going to be another long one. But we covered the face, which took a long time. A little bit of the jacket, putting the jacket on, a little bit of the jacket, and I didn't do the whole painting thing, but overall he looks really good. And so maybe I'll do a follow-up video to show him final with the tie, but this is pretty much him without the tile. My client does want a simple base. I don't know what to make. I don't know. I have to talk about that. So I'll maybe do one follow-up video with the base and the tie on. So that's it for this work in progress. As always, thanks for watching. It's Matt Merlick. Catch you guys next time.